Being a criminal is no easy task, but running a criminal organization is far more challenging. You and I have both heard of the mafia, the yakuza, drug cartels, and other organizations that operate on the most fundamentally criminal grounds. In this video, I'm going to shed some light on some of them who started to produce profits that rival Wall Street. What are the top 10 most wealthy criminal groups in history? Number 10. The Medellin Cartel. The Medellin Cartel would unquestionably be at the top of the list if it still operated today, since at its height it was the most effective and well-organized drug trafficking organization in Colombia and most of the world. It was so notorious that the US considered it a semi-terrorist organization, and for the uninitiated, the Medellin Cartel was founded by none other than Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar is one of the most notorious drug lords in history, and his name conjures up images of wealth, power, and danger. In his 20s, Escobar founded the cartel in the Colombian city of Medellin. According to official records, the cartel generated over $20 billion annually, with the majority of its wealth coming from the trafficking of illegal cocaine, a small amount of political violence and thuggery, and the shipping of illegal exotic materials like Pablo's infamous hippos. If you're one of the skeptics who finds it difficult to believe that the Medellin cartel was so wealthy, then let me assure you that Pablo was not the only recognized billionaire who worked for the cartel. Number 9. CAMORRA. How does an organization without a single leader acquire $4.9 billion? For those in the CAMORRA cartel, the answer is rather straightforward: legacy, respect, and structure. The CAMORRA cartel was founded in the early 1600s in Italy and is still active today. They started as a loose association of different criminals with nothing to lose, devoted to one simple goal: the accumulation of wealth. By the 1800s, politicians had provided the organized association of criminals with the necessary arsenal to overthrow the existing monarchy. As a result of being a part of such a historic shift, the CAMORRA cartel began to modify its focus from wealth to power. Amassing power is not a problem, but when combined with illegal operations such as gambling, trafficking, and counterfeiting, I can assure you that the government will come after you, and that is exactly what happened. But by then, it was too late, because the CAMORRA cartel had already gone international, and it now holds considerable power in Italy, holding a vice grip on the waste management systems in Naples. Not bad for a 400-year-old criminal organization. Number 8. SINALOA cartel. The drug industry is a lucrative one. Everyone is aware of it. After discussing the incredible exploits of the Medellin cartel, we thought it would be appropriate to shed light on the cartel that surpassed it as the largest in the world, the notorious Sinaloa cartel. El Chapo Guzman founded the cartel, and despite his unusual life, he has been able to control the cartel from jail and on the run. Even if you despise what he has built, you have to respect his leadership qualities. According to official documents, this criminal organization earns at least $3 billion per year. However, I believe that the figure is really low. And this is why, first and foremost, the Sinaloa cartel is currently one of the greatest in the world, controlling 60% of drug income. So, the first question is, what the worth of the drug market is? Well, depending on who you ask, it might be anywhere between $6.5 billion and $500 billion. The range is so enormous that no one knows for sure. But one thing is certain: the Sinaloa cartel owns and controls more than half of it. Number 7. NDRANGHETA. There is no doubt that Italy has a long history with organized crime. And it is not just a Hollywood thing. You may not have heard of them as 'Ndrangheta, but they are one of the most important members of the global network of the Italian mafia. And how much do they make on paper? $4.5 billion. But I believe that is probably conservative, and I'll explain why. The 'Ndrangheta is an Italian mafia that originated in Calabria in the 19th century. Their main source of income was and still is cocaine, and they have become one of Europe's most powerful cocaine traffickers throughout the years. What distinguishes this group is that it has managed to maintain strong ties with other criminal organizations. Often, They will choose compromise over violence, making them partners rather than enemies in exceedingly difficult cases to crack for law enforcement agencies. Recently, the 200-year-old criminal organization has begun to engage in money laundering, investing money in legal enterprises to wash their infinite funds. Number 6. Yamaguchi Gumi. You might not have heard of the Yamaguchi Gumi, but you have definitely heard of the yakuza. They are Japan's equivalent of the Italian mafia, and just as the CAMORRA, it's part of the Italian mafia, so Yamaguchi Gumi is part of the Japanese yakuza. So let's dive into this. Anyone that knows the yakuza in Japan knows that they are one of the most principled criminal organizations in the world. They are so strict that if you break one of their rules or laws, you're expected to undergo an atonement ritual called the yubitsume, which practically means you'll have to cut off a little finger to prove how sorry you are. The Yamaguchi Gumi, formed in 1916 by Harakichi Yamaguchi, is the largest yakuza syndicate with at least 20,400 active members and 18,600 connected members. The majority of their money comes from extortion, gambling, the sex business, arms and drug trafficking, stock market manipulation, and online pornography. The syndicate is said to generate at least $6 billion per year. But once again, I believe it is significantly more. Number 5. SOLNTSEVSKAYA BRATVA. You shouldn't be surprised that Russia has its own mafia. The SOLNTSEVSKAYA BRATVA is the largest and most powerful mafia in Russia and brings in an estimated annual income of $8.5 billion from contract killing to money laundering to drug dealing. There is hardly anything that this Russian mafia subsidiary doesn't do. You won't be wrong to say that they have their hands in every pie. Unlike the yakuza, which is highly centralized with a clear chain of command, this organization has something uniquely different. The gang has 9,000 members who are separated into 10 different, practically independent brigades that function on their own. When they have to work together, they gather their resources and do just that. Their money is controlled by a 12-person council that meets regularly in different areas of the world, often disguising their meetings as festive occasions, and you thought fiction was crazier than reality. Number 4. D Company. How many people talk about India when they bring up a list of organized crime? How many? I'm thinking probably none. Maybe it's a lack of research, or maybe it's because most people don't bother to look. Either way, it pays Dawood Ibrahim if D Company stays under the radar, because he is currently number 3 on the FBI's most wanted list for his support of terrorism. His criminal organization was created in Mumbai in the 70s, and it served to ship around heroin and opium. But with time, it expanded to supporting and funding Al-Qaeda. The criminal organization makes at least $6.7 billion yearly, and this amount is hearsay because Dawood has been pretty good at covering his tracks. Good enough that since he masterminded the 1993 Mumbai bomb blast, neither Interpol, the CIA, nor the FBI have been able to find him. He is still controlling his criminal empire from the shadows. Number 3. La Cosa Nostra. When it comes to criminal organizations, there is hardly any that is popular and admired as Cosa Nostra, often referred to simply as the Mafia. The organization had humble beginnings in the 1800s in Sicily, Italy. Legend has it that it began as a prison gang with the same structure and ideals that the modern-day mafia still possesses. Because of the political volatility of the time, the Cosa Nostra went from prisons and villages to more influential places of power over the years. They worked hand in hand with opposing government factions to carry out killings and other acts of sabotage until the mad tyrant Mussolini came into power and proved too violent even for the mafia bosses, so they fled to the United States and Canada to continue their operations. Extortion, gambling, prostitution, and money laundering are just a few examples. Cosa Nostra has a global membership of at least 25,000 members and 250,000 affiliates, with a total revenue of roughly $50 billion. Number 2. Gulf Cartel. The Gulf Cartel deserves its place on this list as one of the oldest criminal organizations in Mexico. With their base firmly entrenched in Mexico, the group traffics drugs throughout the United States and even into Europe. Aside from drugs, they are particularly known for their high-profile kidnappings and extreme violence. They also seem to have a finger in almost every pie, dabbling in everything and anything criminal that they can lay their hands on. Out of all the cartels, including the Sinaloa, they have suffered the most at the hands of anti-drug agencies, and yet they have survived today. They are still worth around $9.9 billion, remaining one of the richest criminal syndicates operating primarily from Mexico. Number 1. The TRIADS. The TRIADS are the most established and dangerous criminal organization in recent memory. They are based in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, but have extended to South Africa, the United States, the United Kingdom, South America, and Russia. Their main business is human trafficking, and they transport at least 100,000 people around the world each year. It's completely insane. Other illegal enterprises that they run include drug transportation, racketeering, and other types of crime that fit their fancy. They are mostly decentralized, which is why dissolving them has been so tough. A low-level member of the triad could easily be mistaken for a boss because they allow a lot of autonomy and no one knows for sure how their money moves. We just know that they have a lot of it. Some have said $13 billion and others have pointed to larger figures, but no one will ever know because the organization is so loose and secretive. So with that being said, we've come to the end of this video. Let us know in the comment section what you think about these organizations. Thanks for watching. See you next time.